Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anniko Briggs, and next to me is Dr. Lloyd Ukwu, and next to me is Dr. Salamatu Machunga. We're from Nigeria. As you can see, the poster says that we, the people of Nigeria. We've been out of Nigeria for the past 1 week, and just a little bit. We went to the United States of America, and we went to Congress, we went to Capitol Hill, we went to State Department and New York in the UN, and we expressed, as the people of Nigeria, our concerns, very serious concerns, regarding the forthcoming 2019 elections of February the 16th, and of course the governorship elections that follows that in March. And we are very concerned because of what has been playing out in Nigeria in the past 4 years, and precisely in the past few months leading up to the elections, the presidential elections that are coming up. Our worries is around the fact that there will not be free, fair, and credible elections. And we say so because we live in Nigeria, we work in Nigeria, and we know what we mean when we say that the elections will not be free, the elections will not be fair. In the past few weeks, things have heated up that has compounded this belief of the grassroots movement of the people of Nigeria. And hence, the decision was made to send out a 3-man team, the three of us, to make this move, go to the United States, express these concerns to the authorities, to the government of the United States, all the way to the presidency. And then we moved to United Kingdom, where we did the same. We delivered letters expressing our concerns to the various organizations, to various offices in the United Kingdom. And we're here today in Brussels, because this is the seat of the European Parliament. And we have also delivered the same similar letter. The letters are generic. They say just the same thing everywhere we go, that we are highly concerned. We're calling on the American government, on the British government, on the European Union, on the United Nations to take heed of what we are saying and be involved in monitoring and watching the elections in Nigeria. Elections is about a people's right. It's about democracy. And we want democracy to really take hold in Nigeria. We want Nigerians to be fearless, to be free to come out, to vote, to express themselves in whom they want to govern them. As if we knew, but we didn't. But our movements have been justified by what has happened and gone on, and some of the very frightening situations and statements that have come out of Nigeria since we've been out of Nigeria. One of those statements is the statement that came out of Nigeria where government has threatened that observers or people who choose to want to come and observe the elections in Nigeria will go back home in body bags. That's horrifying to hear in a democratic process and in a civilized process. So these are the concerns, and these are now the justification for us to come out and continue to encourage the European Union, all the countries affiliated in the European Union, to please keep an eye on Nigeria, come to Nigeria and monitor the elections and make sure that the Nigerian government abides by the rule of law, both in and out of Nigeria. We are in civilization where rules must be obeyed. Now, I come from a place that has been identified as going to be violent and volatile. I don't like that identity. I would rather my place is not identified as a place that is being set up for violence, and that is the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. And we don't want violence in Nigeria, in any part of Nigeria. And we definitely don't want violence in the Niger Delta. Therefore, we are here to call on the international community to not take what is happening in Nigeria lightly, because the tendency, if they take it lightly, is that it will be so violent, and the issue of terrorism, we can't keep away from that, because already we have a group in Nigeria that has perpetrated terror. An international terror organization abides in a certain part of Nigeria. And if we disregard this, it will affect Africa, it will affect the security of Africa, the security of Nigeria, and even the west coast of Africa. It will affect the business interests of the world, and oil and gas and so many, many things. But what is most important is the lives of people. Thank you.
Let me just buttress some of the things that Ms. Briggs just said. I want to say here and now very categorically that we, the people of Nigeria, has no political affiliation or any political undertone. As the name implies, it's the people of Nigeria. It's very unfortunate that we couldn't bring them in plane loads. Otherwise, we would have come with a lot of Nigerians, but we decided that three of us could go around to the United States, the UK, and now we're in Brussels, which the headquarters of EU. We're not here to ask for support for one political party or the other. We're basically here for one message, and the message is very simple and very straightforward, which is that we have a lot of indicators to show that there's likely to be violence. Probably we could arguably say violence induced by, one section of the political spectrum, because of the things that have happened in the recent past. Ms. Anniko Briggs mentioned the issue of the governor of Kaduna State, who of course was speaking for the government, threatening that observers would return to their native countries in body bags. We were already gone while this statement was made, so that kind of lends credence to our mission. We also, before we left Nigeria, there was the removal of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and so that was a complete slap on the rule of law. The doctrine of the separation of powers, which allows the three branches of government to at least operate with some degree of independence, was completely violated by that single action. So the world is a global village now. So we believe that the international community owes the people of Nigeria at least some moral obligation to step in and help out. We also believe that that moral obligation goes as far as ethical obligation, and perhaps even legal, based on the fact that the right to vote is a protected right under international law. So we would like for our friends, the United States, UK and EU. We're all friends. They are friends of Nigeria. We're asking them to come in and help out. The first help we want from them is we had suggested, although the elections are just a few days away, we had suggested that a delegation, a strong delegation be sent to Nigeria to meet with the two presidential candidates and express, or rather underscore, the need for them to maintain a peaceful atmosphere so people can vote and express themselves. In the alternative, we believe that a stronger statement or strong statements coming from these quarters, the US, the UK, and EU, would also go a long way. We know that we've received statements from these countries recently. They should continue to speak out and urge the two main candidates to eschew violence and ensure that the election is peaceful. It cannot be free and fair if it's not peaceful. So the most important thing is that the election should be very peaceful. People should be able to go out there and express themselves. So that's the single message we've been carrying around, and that's the message we're bringing to EU. Thank you.
I would like to. Sorry, okay. I'm Dr. Salamatu, Machunga-Mambula, representing the Middlebelt peoples of Nigeria. Just to dovetail on what my colleagues have expressed, the issue of a free, fair, and peaceful, credible elections is the right of every human being in a democratic process. The peoples of the Middlebelt have been killed, displaced. Middlebelt means we are the people that run horizontally east to west across the nation. We represent 300 ethnic groups, thereabouts, out of the about 400. So you can see 3 out of 4 of the ethnic groups are the Middlebelt. Anyhow, we have experienced killing, displacement, and most of our people from their ethnic indigenous lands are no longer in their abodes. They're internally displaced persons in Nigeria right now. Now, when people have been attacked by the herdsmen who have been infiltrating the country, and consistently there's insecurity being unleashed on them repeatedly, even as I speak right now, we are urging the international community for their intervention, because these people have the right to vote also. A lot of them have been displaced from their indigenous homes. How are we going to guarantee that they'll be able to come out and exercise their rights as Nigerian citizens to be able to vote without intimidation and without being persecuted? So these issues are very serious, and the volatility that we're expressing, the potential for the volatility in the country of Nigeria, is going to create a huge problem. Ms. Anniko Briggs has mentioned about that. 200 million population, that's the census approximately, is the population of Nigeria. Any kind of instability or unrest in a nation that size is going to be a huge global issue. And we are saying to the international community, step in now and be overseers, be persons who will be the voice for the ordinary persons, we the people, the day-to-day man on the street, and urge our leaders, no matter what their political leanings are, to encourage for there to be a non-violent environment, peaceful, that people can go out freely and express their democratic rights. So not doing that is potentially exposing 200 million people to crisis, the whole West African region to crisis. One, they say 8 of every black person is an African. So it's just, we don't want to go there. So our mission here is to have that done. And we would like to remind the international community, 2015, this exercise was done by Secretary of State, Secretary Kerry, just before the 2015 elections. He flew into Nigeria and sat with the leadership of the main political parties and, encouraged them to have a peaceful exercise. And we're asking, we know it's kind of late again, but strong messages, whatever the EU, whatever the United States, whatever United Kingdom, and any of the friends of our nations can do to bring that kind of message to the Nigerian people, the leadership, will go a long way in forestalling the potential of the violence that we're experiencing or sensing could come upon the nation.
If there are any questions, we will answer them. Thank you.
I was just going to ask, what's your biggest concern? The violence or the whole process and what that means for the process of the
I think our greatest concern is violence as a tool for rigging the elections. Because when the prospective voters are intimidated, when they hear gunshots, when they see the military all over the place, it means that they will not go out to vote. And in such a scenario, you will find the candidate or candidates trying to take undue advantage of the fact that there are not enough people voting. So to answer your question, I think our greatest concern is violence, because that's ultimately what will keep people away. Rain is not going to keep people away. Sun is not going to keep people away. But what is going to keep them away is a fear that either on their way going there or on their way returning from their polling booths, something is going to happen to them.
Let me also add to that by citing something that is happening right now in Nigeria. Take, for instance, a state called Rivers State in the Niger Delta. Now, there are many political parties, but there is 2 major political parties, 2 key ones. One is the incumbent party, the APC, and the other one is PDP. Now, for us in Rivers State, apart from the national concern that is spread across Nigeria of violence, because I live in Rivers State and I'm from that state, I am extremely concerned because there is a court judgment that has been going on for the past 2-3 months. And at the end of the day, one party, the incumbent party at federal level, has been stopped by law from participating in the elections of the governorship elections. Now, before that even happened, the threat of violence has been uttered and expressed by the political party that has more or less been disqualified. So when a country sets up itself for this sort of violence, preparing to unleash violence by using any means, like I have highlighted, that's very, very frightening, because we believe that that is also another way, by playing with the law and manipulating the law and saying one thing and dragging it until it gets to the point where people will react, and they can only react violently. So these are the things that is worrisome: violence.
And maybe finally to add, like I mentioned earlier, for the peoples of the Middlebelt, we have been beaten repeatedly by the herdsmen, killing, destruction. So the experience of violence has become like a daily routine, and most of these people are not interested. It has beaten them down, their confidence down, to want to even go out and vote. Some of them are no longer in their indigenous communities because the herdsmen that came in killed, destroyed their farmlands. They're in IDP camps, and a lot of them were registered to vote in their indigenous homes, but right now they're in a camp, displaced. So all this confusion right there. So, but once they see or hear the international community making statements, coming out to say, Nigeria is a very important country because of population, resources from the Niger Delta, oil, gas, and so on. 200 million people are too many for us to take a chance. And it will reassure them, regardless of what they've gone through, to go out and exercise their democratic rights.
Actually, in our experience, we were pleasantly surprised that they seem to understand our concerns and are aware of our concerns. But I mean, definitely, United States is a stakeholder, is a major player in the affairs of the world, definitely in the affairs of Africa, and significantly in the affairs of Nigeria, because they have a lot of investment and interest in Nigeria. And yes, they were encouraging. They've been making statements. They've been very forthright in demanding for equity in voting, in demanding for free, fair, credible, and violent-free election. That's all really we can ask of them. We cannot ask them to come in and vote on our behalf, but to encourage the government to make a conducive environment for us to vote and let the winner remain the winner. Let the results not be manipulated. Is the same also that we have received in the UK. I believe we will receive the same also from the EU.
Let me just add this, although not directly related to the question you asked. It's more of a teaser. If the governor of a ruling party in Nigeria has the guts to threaten the international community and be a bit more specific that if they come in to observe the elections, they'll be returning in body bags, what does the international community think would happen to the locals, the people of Nigeria who live in Nigeria? Because the international community is made up of United States, UK, EU countries, and some other African countries, you know. But such a threat was issued with impunity to them. So what would happen to the smaller guys who are going to vote? This is a question that the international community needs to really take a look at and make sure that we, the people of Nigeria, are protected. Because, you know, it's like we are coming out to ask for help because we know we cannot handle it ourselves. We just need help from the international community. It's not a violation of Nigeria's sovereignty. No, it's not. Because when Nigeria as a government needs help, it also goes out to other countries to ask for the help. And we, the people, we are the people. We elected the leadership. So we've come out to say we need help. So the international community should oblige.
And just to really add to that is to say that this very government that is in power now is a government that took this opportunity that is free, is freely offered. And they went to America in 2014, 2015 to ask for the same thing that we are asking for today. And in those processes that they began, the elections were held, and they came to power. So there is nothing absolutely wrong with what we're doing. As a matter of fact, we owe ourselves and our countrymen the moral obligation and the patriotism to actually get up and do what we're doing, to look at power and tell truths to power. Thank you. I think, is there any other? So I think we're done. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for having us.